Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you can see me and hear me okay. Put it into the chat and let me know. Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Hey, Diana. As everyone streams in, we'll just do this first. All right. So in today's video or in today's session, what we'll be going through is how the BOC cut rates by 25 basis point. We'll look at what happened on the US CAD. The JOLTS jobs openings, we'll break that down. And with the ADP non-farm to be released today, we'll look into that and any possible trade setups. But first, okay, we are back. Let me do that a little bit. There we go. Okay, I hope you're doing well. I hope you all are trading well. Yeah, okay. Hey, like I said, hey Diana, hey Jimmy, hey Linley, hey Spiros, long time no see. Hope you're doing fantastic. Hey Sam Pizzo, good to have you with us. Welcome to the session. Again, if you are new to the session, do drop a message and say hi. Let me know where you're joining us from. And for all the regulars, a big welcome back. Thank you again for joining me on this daily market analysis. Right. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat and let me know. And you can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button. And also, one more thing is that you should join my mailing list. The link is in the description below. I do have awesome things to send out to you from time to time. Thanks for that, Diana. You know, the funny thing is, I've heard that soundtrack once, and whenever I'm playing it, I don't actually hear it, so I've totally forgotten what it is. But I'm glad that you like it. All right, I'm glad that you guys like it. Any feedback, any comments with how we run the session, do put into the chat and let me know. Leave a comment as well, let me know. I'm always trying to make sure that this gets better and more helpful for you all. Okay. What am I going to do now? Okay, so first off, last night, as expected, we saw the BOC, the Bank of Canada, cut rates by 25 basis points, taking it down from a 4.5% to a 4.25%, pretty much as expected, right? As expected there. What we did see on the US CAD was, well, I was expecting it to push up. I was expecting it to push up a little bit more to test that resistance before coming back down. So I was expecting that downward push on the US CAD. It didn't go as high, or it didn't go any higher than I expected. It sat along that 1.3560 level, and then on release of the news, pushed to the downside. All right, pushed to the downside. We had a small blip up and then a push to the downside on the US CAD, driven down by that push to the downside on the dollar index. So why did the dollar index push lower, right? Why did the dollar index push lower? It's really because of the JOLTS jobs open. I have to say JOLTS and shake my head. I have no idea why. JOLTS jobs openings. It was 8.18 million, got revised down to a 7.91 million. When it was 8.18, they were expecting it to go to 8.09. So when it went revised down to 7.91, it got released at 7.69. So a similar drop, a similar slowdown in the jobs openings in the US, which if you look at the headlines, it also says that America has the fewest jobs openings since January 2021, right? Not very good news. Not very good news here because when businesses, right, when businesses are not hiring, that means that, or it's likely to mean that they have a relatively negative view of how the economy is likely to perform, right? Because you don't hire for the no, you don't typically hire for the short term. You want to hire, or businesses want to hire for the long term. They hire when they expect that activity is going to increase. They expect when profits or sales are going to increase. So when you have low or record low job opening numbers, it signals that they anticipate economic activity to be slower. They anticipate that maybe consumer spending and all that might slow down as well, right? That's why we see the GLTS jobs openings down to a 7.67 million. So not very good news. And because of that not very good news, we saw the dollar index push very strongly to the downside, finally breaking that 101.50 level to push down. It didn't go as low as 101.15. It got to 101.23, bounced back up, and then looked like it was trying to push back down again. All right. So it only just came to that point, 101.20, an hour ago. Still anticipating the downside, but we'll talk more about that shortly. That was what happened with last night. The BOC rate cut 25 basis points to 4.25%. The GLTS jobs openings down to 7.67 million. Not very good news. Then through to today, we had Governor Bullock speaking for the RBA, casting again not very good news that the RBA, well, there were headliners that the RBA will struggle with jobs goals if CPI stays high. Bullock says so. CPI inflation data for the RBA not exactly won that fight yet, right? Haven't won that fight yet. So that was the headliner from that news. Nothing much all the way through today until tonight at 8:15 p.m. GMT plus 8, where we have the ADP non-farm employment change to be released. I say this every month. Remember, ADP non-farm is a private data calculation of the of the non-farm employment change number. The official government number comes out on Friday. Is there a correlation between the two? A little bit, but not entirely. I have gone through a lot of data. Based on my capacity, I haven't found any direct correlation. But when you think about it, GLTS last night wasn't great, right? It's the lowest since January 2021 with job openings. Now, looking at this non-farm employment change number, 122K, previously expected 144, it looks like it's not going to happen. It could very well happen, but it looks like it's not going to happen because if you don't have that much jobs openings, if you've got record low job openings, how are you going to get good employment change numbers, right? So I'm possibly thinking that we might see a weaker number here. Right, it was 155 in July. Well, it was 155 before. Expected 147, came out 122. Right, so now at 122, expecting 144. I'm thinking maybe even, and this would be terrible. This would be terrible, but I'm thinking even the low 100s. Right, that 107 kind of number. About there. It's absolutely a guess. This is absolutely a guess, but I'm thinking that it could be a lower number, which might bring about further downside on the dollar index to push it lower. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at on the ADP non-farm tonight. We have employment claims to be released as well at 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, 2:30 231K, 231K. It's a weekly number after the ADP non-farm with the US non-farm to be released tomorrow. I don't think this is going to do too much. Overall, we're just looking at this news to give us a little bit of hint to see what could happen on the dollar index. Fair enough. Any questions, put it into the chat, let me know. And then we'll talk about this tomorrow, or the non-farm and the Canadian numbers tomorrow as well. Okay, so that's with the news for today. With that, it looks like we're going to see a lot more volatility. We're going to see a lot more activity onto the dollar index in the lead up to this news. So now looking at the dollar index. All right, looking at the dollar index, you can see, I'll take that away. All right, you can see that firstly, it broke out of that range to the downside. Oh, well, firstly, hey, Angel Case, how are you doing? Hi, Ju Marinas, hope you're well. I was chuckling a little bit just then because I just saw Diana said, hallelujah, Euro pound broke that resistance. I saw that before coming online. Hopefully we get a good ride. We'll talk about that shortly. Okay. So now back to the dollar index. We're looking at it having pushed up. I would like to, although we have that point there, it pushed up last night. Oh no, not last night, Tuesday, went up to the high point here, right? So we should have actually taken that and dragged this up a little bit. Okay, so that's one thing that I realized I didn't do from yesterday. That's why you see that revision of that level still stays the same, that area. And once it broke that point, we saw a big push down. It didn't get to 101.15 because that by dragging it up a little bit to that high point there, you see that that 50% retracement is at 101.21, which it reacted to almost perfectly last night and again this afternoon. Afternoon for me, early morning for you guys. So let's take that away. So we've seen that move down, that fib retracement. It broke that area, it pushed down to that 50% level. We can take that one away. Now, with it pushing to the downside, with the dollar index trading, looking like it's trading, what am I doing? Okay, with the dollar index looking like it's pushing to the downside, remember again, ADP non-farm, my guess is that we're going to see a weaker number. With a weaker number, we're going to see a weaker dollar index. So I'm looking for this firstly to break below 101.20. If it does that, it could trade down to that 61.8, which is nicely at 101.05. But I like it to the round, almost to the round number here at 101 or even down to 101.90. All right, about the 101.92. So that's what I'm looking at, is basically it needs to, all right, on the 5th today of September, dollar index breaking lower. We've had that downside already. Now it is, I want to say consolidating, but it's not really consolidating. It's currently at 101.25. Needs to break 50% level to trade down to 100.90. Right? And there's ADP pending. There we go. Right, so it's sitting there. It needs to break this level, and if it does break that level, we could see it trade down to 100.90, that previous swing level there. Okay, so relatively straightforward here on the dollar index. I want to check this. I want to revise this to that point. Okay. There we go. Don't need that. Take that away. That big push down. Bounce, test, bounce, tested trend line. Pushing back lower, needs to break 50 to trade down to 100.90. Makes sense. Beyond this, then obviously we can see that push lower again with the big support at 100.55. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. 100.90 will be just there, right? Which is an overlap of this point and this point here. And that's why I'll be targeting that level. If it breaks, it could bounce from here. If it does, I don't think it's highly likely to bounce. But if it does bounce, then we're looking that it needs to stay below 101.40, right? But we're still looking for it to push down. Okay. Any questions? If not, then we'll look at the Kiwi dollar. Right? So now looking at the Kiwi dollar, and a lot of it's going to stay the same. Those that did not trigger, you see that pushing that trend line, it's broken. Take that away. Kiwi dollar bounced back up, but it's showing a little bit more of a downside. You can see that it's trying to push back up. I'm not entirely convinced still about that downward, not about that upward, possible upward on the Kiwi. Right? I know I'm messing around my chart a little bit. Just hang on. That I don't need that level. That's just too much. Right? So we still want to see it push down. There is that chance of a like that break that neckline to push up. And again, with that, with a possible push up as well. But I'm thinking that the Kiwi dollar would be there. So we'll still be looking at 16165, stop loss 20. Take profit will be 30. I think it's just there. I don't see it pushing down. Okay, no. Let's do that. Okay, this is how I would plan it. I would be looking for the Kiwi to do this if I'm entirely wrong about the ADP non-farm number. Then we see a slightly stronger number. We might, if we see the dollar find a little bit of a base here and push back up. If the Kiwi weakens significantly, then we could see this push down. So I'll keep it there at 16165, 20 to 60 to the downside. Right, 6165, 20 to 60 to the downside. This is if we see a DXY recovery, we'll look to sell the Kiwi down. Okay, then onto the Aussie dollar. Same thing, you look at it. Dollar is not really doing too much, but Kiwi pushing down, Aussie pushing down. I don't like that push up. And also remember that we just had headlines from the governor at RBA saying that employment numbers are not going to hit if they don't win the inflation fight. It's still talking about inflationary pressures. So it came, bounced, tested 38.2, rejected, looking like it's trying to push back down. Wouldn't do anything here. look for it to react at that 50% level where it bounced from. It's right in the middle there, so I wouldn't do anything. I don't need that dotted line, take that away. That all makes sense. Right? Yesterday we said that Aussie we were looking to buy. If it broke up, I think that there are a lot of opportunities to trade on the dollar weakness scenario. I think in a dollar strength scenario, there might be a bit less. So I think that Kiwi and Aussie we might keep available for a possible dollar strength scenario. 61.8, I don't like it there. I kind of prefer to look for this point as a level. Okay, so there we go. Hey Stefan, how are you doing? Hey Benjamin, good to have you with us. Hey Noachuku, how are you doing? So onto the Aussie dollar, I'll be looking at 6685. Stop loss very tight. I would say you can even do 15, right? And then a take profit at 45. So why I'm quite happy to have a tight stop is because we've seen it test this almost equal low. We've seen it bounce back up to 38.2. I think that if it does push down, there is going to be good momentum to break it to the downside. You can do it 15, you can do it at 20. Let's put it at 20 as my usual minimum number that I put in at. Okay, so we're looking at that 6685, 20 to 45 to the downside on the Aussie. Sell at 0.6685, stop loss 20, take profit 45. Again, this is if DXY recovery, which means strength. All right. You see it finding a little bit of a base, bit of a support there. Okay. Then onto the Aussie Kiwi. It hasn't done anything. It's just bouncing around. We were right here yesterday. Let me zoom in a bit. I just realized it's tiny. We were right here yesterday, right as we were speaking yesterday. It pushed up a little bit, it came back down, it pushed up a little bit, it came back down. Still sitting along there. I think that it'd be more worthwhile trying to find a reaction here at 1.08. So I wouldn't do anything here on the Aussie Kiwi. I'll be looking for reaction here. Okay, possible. What I mean by a reaction here is a possible bounce back up like that. Then we can buy that back up. I think there'll be a better idea to trade that. You'll be looking for an idea like 1.0820, stop loss 20 pips, take profit back up to about that point, about 40-50 pips to the upside. Nothing now. Look for it to bounce off that potential support level, mid-level there. Okay, all good, all good. Let me know. If it's all good, then we get to the pound dollar. We get into the exciting bits that we've been waiting for the whole week. We look at the pound dollar, we look at the euro dollar, then we decide whether the euro pound is going to have a good move all the way up. Okay, and you see pound dollar again pushed up, almost got to that point. We said 1.3160, almost got to that point and then turned back down again. Still sitting along that resistance, now turned support level. Okay. That's what I was going to get to, Diana. The interesting thing is that, and this is where those who are very big on technical analysis would say, hey, technical analysis gives you the chance to front run the news, because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that prices look like, the way price is moving, it looks like it's forming up for some dollar strength, right? It looks like it's forming up for some dollar strength because it's failing to break a lot higher. It's failing to break a lot higher. It looks like it's forming up for some dollar strength. So that's something to watch out for. Okay. And also that's why. So do I believe that technical analysis front runs fundamentals or can give you a way to predict the news? I don't think so in particular, but I think it's all about scenario planning, right? So we're covering our scenarios, we're thinking of what could happen at different levels. So now, as you see the pound dollar sitting along, so I hope I answered your question there, Diana. But now we see the pound dollar sitting along this point, having tested 38.2 and it's coming back, consolidating. We've already got two scenarios where on the Aussie and the Kiwi, where if the dollar gains strength, we'll look to sell it down. Now I'm thinking that on the pound dollar here, we could see that push or consolidate along this point. I still want to be thinking, I'm very undecided on the pound. There's no major news on the pound. That's why it's sitting right across. The dollar index is driving prices. It's trying to form a bit of a push now. So you're seeing the pound dollar push back down a little bit. We're looking at that point, right? And then if I took that and I looked at 50, it'd be down here. Take away 38.2 because it's right in the middle there. Look at 50. I'm actually thinking that if it breaks below 1.3080, then we're going to see that downside. Okay, so there is this potential, right, on the pound dollar, 1.308075 even. Stop loss will be about 25 pips. Your take profit will be down like the 100 pips to the 50% retracement level. That's the potential, but we could already be looking to sell the Aussie, sell the Kiwi down. I'm thinking that it might sit there, and I'm actually prefer the idea that if it breaks back up, so if the dollar continues to weaken, you'll be looking at 1.3175. Stop loss will be about 40. Take profit will be about 80 to the upside because there seems to be a potential big push lower. All right, so you have that two options there on the pound dollar as it sits along this area. Which one do I like more? We'll come back to that. We'll look at the euro, and then we'll come back to the pound dollar because I want to see what happens on the euro. Hey Ahmed, how you doing? Diana said pound on the daily time frame looks like more downside. It does. I do feel like it's a little bit more downside, but you look at why I want to look at the euro. Euro, big proportion of the dollar index. You want to see what the euro could do. There is that big inverted head and shoulder that's taking a long time to play out. I didn't get into this. I've been super busy on my yen and my gold trades. So that inverted head and shoulder is taking a very long time to play out. 38.2, where it came up to and tested. So it's that point there. All right. So anyone gone to the euro, let me know on the inverted head and shoulder. I'm looking at this. I kind of like, so that's where I'm conflicted, right? So I kind of like the euro to the upside, although there are no major news that could drive it up. Just looking at the way price is forming higher. The euro, I'm looking at above, if you can break above that 1.11 level, which is finding a little bit of resistance there. So you're looking at 1.1110. Stop loss would be about 20 pips. Your take profit, if it does break that point, we could actually see quite a good move back up towards that point at about 50 pips or more, right? So that's what I'm looking at on the euro. And if the euro does push up, then we're going to see it's all at that deciding point. It's all at that point because you see how it's reacting to that 38.2, which also could, if you look at this, tell you that it's failing to break above that point. So we could see this push back down, which plays very nicely into how the dollar index is moving right now. Right? So you want to give it a little bit of time. I feel like it could just consolidate there. Right? There are a lot of, when you start over analyzing, and on the borderline of that is when you look at that push up and you see that triangle forming a little bit there, right? There seems like there could be a push to the upside again. Like Ahmed is saying, it might consolidate before going down. The main thing now is we're trying to guess what the news is going to be. It's going to bounce around here. It's going to bounce in this area until the release of the news, and it's a real guess on what the news could be. Okay, so I would say that on the euro, I would rather look for that upside, and this is covering our bases here, right? 1.11, I'll go 1.110. No, I'll go a little bit nearer. 1.1105, stop loss 20 pips. Take profit back up. You don't want it at 30. I'll go up to 55 to the upside. So I'll cover my bases here where I would be thinking that if the dollar does push down, then we have the euro with that to the upside. All right, breaking out of this triangle, big move up, break up to the upside. But it's going to consolidate in this area for the time being. So now with that, let's put that in first, 1.1105, 20 to 55. Okay, so that whatever happens, we have kind of an opportunity. 1.1105, stop loss 20, take profit 50, 50 something, 55 to the upside. Okay, then because I'm looking at a possible push, if the dollar weakens, big push to the upside on the euro, then I'll look at the pound dollar and think that, okay, if I'm ready to be on the alternate scenario that the euro doesn't push up, yes, I can look to sell it down, but I'll also be looking to sell the pound down in this case, right? And you can look to sell it down firstly as it breaks. I think it'll be a little bit too early. I'll be looking for this point then at 1 point, let me just check something, 50, that's still reasonable. Okay, 1.3080, stop loss 25, take profit down to this point at 100. Okay, so that's what I'll look out for on the pound dollar. I'm looking to sell at 1.3080, stop loss 25, take profit 100 to the downside. This way you have it covered, right? Not because we're going to be flip-flopping and undecided, but it's a news coming out. We're going to see what happens with the data. Data is going to drive prices in a particular direction for the medium, at least for the short to medium term. So depending on the news, we're going to see either we're going to sell the pound dollar down or buy the euro up. Okay, then with that, it might come down to if the pound pushes down, if the euro pushes up, then we might get that chance, because pound coming down is going to drive the euro pound up. Euro going up is going to drive the euro pound up. So it tried. We were a little bit early anticipation that the euro pound was going to break out that range. It came back in a little bit, but it's moving pretty much as planned. It's sat there. It's pushed down as we expected. It's just taking a little bit longer to push back up. I think that's going to continue. We're going to have to continue waiting on this. 8440, 20 pip stop, 60 pip take. I think that you could even be looking at a good 40 pip first and then possibly to the upside at 60. Okay. So I would say that you still have to wait on the euro pound. Yeah. Okay. Then with that, looking into the US yen, right? Looking into the US yen, this was a straightforward trade. I got in early on this as well, just because I saw the trend on yen. I was happy to take the risk. We talked about this. Oh, wait, before that, take that away. So we talked about this yesterday where we traded it down to that 61.8. We talked about yesterday with it breaking 61.8 to that previous swing low. I got in earlier at 144.80. Right? I think, wait. No, I got in just at 61.8. So yeah, just a little bit earlier, 90, I think, or something there. Had a good 115 to the downside. Had 115 to the downside on the US yen. So that was done. Easy trade to the downside as it broke that 61.8. We can take that away and that away as well. As it pushed lower down from this point, then I drew that, right? And I was thinking that, oh, no, wait. So before that, as it was breaking lower, that point this afternoon, I was in the Discord group saying that if it breaks lower, we could see it push down towards that low from the 5th of August. But what it did, it did not push down. It came right before at 143 couldn't break 143, and it's pushing back up now. Why is it pushing back up? Like we've all been seeing, the dollar index pushing back up slightly, dragging the US yen up slightly as well. Now the big question is that I'm actually want to see it push back, but I think it's a little bit too early. You're looking at that point first. So I had a question on Discord where, is it time to buy the US yen back up? Definitely not time to buy it back up yet. It could retrace back up to this area, right? I'm ready for the US yen to retrace back up to that 23.6, 38.2 area before potentially pushing back down again on dollar weakness. Okay, so I wouldn't be looking to sell there. I think that you all know my style is a little bit too early to sell there. I would still be looking to sell down from this point, 1.3420. If it does go up, push back down, good momentum, you have a 40 pip stop, you would have a 120 pip to the downside on the US yen. It looks a little bit overextended. This morning, as my trade closed out, I was looking at a potential bounce. All right, I was looking at a potential bounce. That's why I had my fib levels there just then. I was thinking that if it broke, which level, if it broke through, would I be looking to buy back up? I feel like it's overextended, but I feel like there is a little bit more downside before we see a push back up. All right, so that move is working. Yeah, so I want to see it. I wouldn't mind if it pushes back up now. I only look to buy it up maybe above 145. I will let it push. I want a bit more confirmation. I'm very well, I like waiting. I like seeing what happens before I get into a trade. Or if it pushes down, then that would be a very good point to be looking to buy it back up as well. Okay, so long story short, for now, I was looking at the retrace and then the push back down on the US yen. 143.20, 40 to 120. And the US yen has been very good to me, so I'll look for that continuation. 143.20, stop loss, a 40, take profit, 120. Right, we've pretty much, I think if you go through our previous videos, we've pretty much traded the yen all the way down, traded the yen all the way back up, and then traded the yen all the way back down again. Almost pinpoint. Right. Diana says we'll wait this candle to close. Yeah, I don't think it's something to across all the pairs we've talked about. I don't think it's at the point where you want to get into anything right now. Okay. Then onto the euro yen. Again, it's pushed all the way down, climbing back up to that 23.6 level. Resistance, support turned resistance. Still far from that. Okay, we don't need 38.2, but we want to consider that point there. Okay, so it's testing back up. Remember again on the euro yen, yen pushing back up, dragging the euro yen back up. Euro dollar sitting pretty much steady. So euro yen now is pushing up because of the yen. So same thing as the yen, I would be looking for it to test within this area and then maybe continue back down. But the big question is what's the euro going to do as well? All right, what's the euro going to do as well? Since we're looking that the euro could break to the upside, I think that as another view, right, of how the euro yen bounced off this area, what you could be looking at would be on the euro yen. It might bounce around there. I'll be considering. It's a bit higher risk. I would say 160.55. You'd have a 40 pip stop. Could have a 100. Oh, that's a big move. 160 pip move to the upside. All right. So it pushes back, consolidates. You look for the breakout to the upside on the euro yen. If the euro dollar has that big push to the upside, that's going to drag this up. Okay. For the euro pound, I think across all the pairs, I'm not rushing to any trades today. I've done my scalping on the yen down. I've done my scalping on gold. I think everything else is a wait for a moment now. All right. Um, then onto the pound yen push down. Happened too late for me. At midnight, it broke down and pushed down. I didn't get into this. I know we were talking about this in a Discord group with Diana about the pound yen coming close, but it's just a bit too late for that. Missed out on a good 100 pip move to the downside. But what you see here is that it pushed down, found the support here. So let me just check this. That's all good. Right, that's a resistance area. Yeah. So it pushed down, found a good support here, looking like it might push back up. And if you take this down, that point, 23.6, if you have that, I took away that dotted line, but if you look at that again, is that point there. Right? So it's either the yen going to push back up or the pound, good dollar going to push back up. I feel like if I did this trade, right? If I got into this trade, it would be something I would size down just to get into the trade, just because I want to get into the trade. But it's not something that I would be super happy to, super confident with, because it's big move down, it's bouncing back up. I would be looking like 190, above 190. So 190, just at that 38.2, 190.20. Stop loss, I would keep it like 50. Take profit, I'll go up to that 180 up first, right? Just because I want to see that push, then after that, that upside. But if not, then I'm quite happy to let it move. I'll still be looking to see what the US yen does first. Then you look at the pound yen, because look, we're looking at the pound dollar potentially pushing down. So that's going to drag the pound yen down. So that's why I'm a little bit conflicted on the pound yen. Okay. And if it does break from that support, the next point will be down there, which would be about that 61.8 level. So same thing with the pound. If it breaks up, you can look to buy it up. If not, then we'll be looking at breaking down from that support 187.48. Stop loss tight about 50 or 60 even. I don't think we're going to see 240 to the downside today. Okay. All right. Then on to the US Swiss franc. No big surprise. I'm not super keen on this. Still looking at it. Pushing, right? It's pushed down. Tested that 50% level. Almost to that 61.8. I think that you can still maintain that view on dollar weakness to drag it down. So I'll keep that. 8450.20 to 40 to the downside. 8450.20 to 40 to the downside. We'll keep that. I think what could happen on the US Swiss franc is a little bit of push before a retrace if the dollar weakens. I don't like doing the analysis before this, and I don't like doing it just before the non-farm news. It's just a guess. It could change entirely, right? Non-farm, look at it. It could go from 220, 272 for no reason, 300 for no reason as well. So it's a bit of a guess. Just bear that in mind. I can't stress enough. Just bear that in mind. US CAD didn't push up as we expected before turning back down, but it did turn down. So at this point here, what you should be seeing is that It came down to that 38. In fact, you would see that it bounced off that 50, came right down and bounced off that 50, consolidating at this point. What I would be anticipating here is a consolidation and then a break to the downside if that dollar continues to weaken. So you'll be looking at below 1.35, stop loss at 20, take profit at 55 to the downside. Okay. 1.35, stop loss 20, take profit 55 to the downside. Yes, I can look at Aussie CAD, no worries. Okay, then, yeah, sitting there, it's going to bounce around, look for the downward push. Then onto gold. This worked so nicely. This work, I have to just sit back and admire what we did. So I did a very naughty thing where I was trading that down. So right after, I like scalping, right? So right after I was telling you all that, it could trade down to this 24 within this range, right? It could trade down to within this range. Let me take that away. Leave it there for now. Right after our session, I saw it. I saw that 1, 2, 3 candles pushing down, coming towards the support. I was scalping this down to the downside. Right, I was scalping it down, and in fact, let me just check my level. Where was that level I was looking at? In fact, I traded it all the way down to 24.72, 73. No, 70, 72, 72. Right, 72, 72 there. Right, all the way, I scalping it down and then close out my trade. And the next moment, it comes, and this was at like just before the hour close, it pushed right back up. Right, it pushed right back up. So I was super happy I closed out my scalp. Super happy that it came down into this area and bounced right back up. I didn't catch this move back up because I didn't think it was going to go all the way. That one I was still watching. I did catch this move this afternoon as it traded higher. So now we had that question in Discord. What's going to happen on gold right now? Let's take that away. It's moved perfectly. Gold is sitting at that 61.8 level, right? Move down, bounce back up, sitting along that 61.8 level. Looking at the dollar, sitting there. If that pushes down, then we're going to see gold push back up. It does need to close above 25.08 before it pushes up. I had a question on Discord was, could it get up to 25.20? I think that it might retrace or consolidate, sit along here for a while. But yes, I am looking for that to break up above and push up to 25.20 and maybe even 25.27. Okay, so on gold, did my naughty thing. Now we're looking to at 61.8 now. If broken above 25.08, could trade up to 25.20, right? To push up. If not, then it's just going to stay in this range. If it can't break this level, then it's going to stay within this range to form a better move. And I wouldn't rule that out as well. Okay, I would not rule that out as well. In that move, yeah. it could just test and push back down again. Okay, with that, then onto Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD, done that. No, that was a long time ago. That makes sense. That still makes sense there. Aussie dollar trying to push down, going to push the Aussie CAD down. CAD sitting across. Aussie CAD sitting right there. I would look for it to break. In fact, let me just restart this. I definitely have that point there. I have that point there. And I have that point there. Right? So on Aussie CAD, what you will want to be looking out for would be a break to the downside. Aussie dollar looking like it might push down. It's still forming up. So I would say that if Aussie dollar does push down, you see Aussie CAD push down, CAD pushing, US CAD pushing down, yes, could still see Aussie CAD push down. So don't do anything yet unless it breaks below 9060. Then I'll give it a bit more space actually. 9055. Then you go stop loss at the very most 15 to 20. Your take profit would be about 40 to the downside. That's what I'll be looking for. I think why I'm giving a bit more space is I think that it could push down that way, or maybe even to a greater extent. Right? So that's what I'll be thinking of on the Aussie CAD. But yes, still thinking of that downside. I agree with you. Looking at the downside potential on the Aussie CAD. Okay. So with all that said, please remember, trade well, trade safe. Any questions, put it into the chat, or put it into the comments, put it into Discord. If you haven't already, join me, join my mailing list. Link is there again. Oops, there again. And then I will catch you all tomorrow for the pre-non-farm analysis. Thank you so much, Diana. Thanks, Noachuku. Thanks, Jumarenas. Thanks, Jimmy. Take care now, y'all. Bye-bye.